Hey YouTubers, just kind of want to go over part two of floating gears. First clip I just kind of showed you guys how it was done, but nothing verbal. So just kind of want to point out some things for new guys trying to learn how to do this. I'm getting quite a few views, and it hasn't even been posted very long. So obviously people want to learn how to float gears. First thing I want to point out is, old trucks and new trucks, every truck, they all have their own personalities, but in particular, an old truck needs to be revved up a little more. The newer trucks are lower rev engines for emissions and things that the government's kind of cracking down on. So when you're going to float gears in a newer truck, especially in those lower range gears, it just kind of flows right in there. You're shifting pretty quick, in between gears. On an older truck, you're going to have to wind it out a little more. It's just the way it is. Like I say, but they're all a little different. One thing I have noticed, two different ways of doing it as well, where you can, you need to understand the rev of whatever truck you're in, of course, but if you kind of float it into that gear a little before you would normally double clutch, I guess I want to say, don't quite rev it so high, it'll come right back into that, next gear. And another way of doing it, from my experiences, is rev it a little high, bring it into neutral, and give yourself a little pause, and then bring it into that next gear. So it allows those RPMs just to drop, just a little bit. It just kind of skips it into that, next gear. Just giving it that little pause, and basically that's the same pause as what you're doing when you're double clutching, so it needs that little pause. But if you don't bring the RPMs up quite as high, it'll usually pretty much slip right into gear. And I've with my experiences with the newer trucks, that method tends to work a little better. With the older trucks, they seem to work a little better with the second example, where you bring the RPMs up a little higher, but you got to give it that little pause before you bring it into the next gear. So another thing I wanted to point out is free play on the clutch. I'm sure you guys learned in school, those of you that went to a CDL school, and just learning, trying to make that transition from double clutch into floating gears, is your free play. Don't forget the things that you learned in school. You need that free play space. If you don't have any free play on the top, then you're wearing out that clutch. So that could be some of your problem there. While you're grinding gears. And the other thing is the clutch brake down on the bottom. Even guys in particular that are double clutching, I see a lot of them go way down, and they hit that clutch brake when they're trying to go into that next gear. The clutch brake is to stop the clutch, which is, pretty much for when you're coming to a stop and you're starting over, and you're trying to go back up into your first gear or second gear, whatever gear you're taking off in, depending on how much weight you have. But that's to stop your clutch. That clutch brake is to stop the clutch, so you can put it in that low gear and start over again. But you don't want to go down that far when you're going through your gears. So I've seen a lot of that as well. So just kind of keep these things in mind, and hopefully this kind of helps somebody out there. We'll talk to you later.